What up guys, and welcome back to the channel where I share vlogs, metaphysical stuff, spell work. It's literally like an online grimoire, and I just share my everyday life experiences with you. So if you are new here, my channel is called Underneath the Veil of Marigolds. The title of today's video is Spiritual Awakening, Spiritual Growth, your spiritual journey, and all the misconceptions floating around out there of what those are supposed to be like pinpoints of exactly how you're going to feel, exactly what you're going to go through, how long it lasts, and if it's supposed to happen once or more than once, how many times is this going to happen, am I always going to feel like this, etc., etc. There's so many cliffhangers and not enough information is given about this sort of topic. I'm going to share with you my experience and my firsthand knowledge. If you guys do not know, I have been physically practicing witchcraft for the past 7 years, roughly. And I've been reading and researching and doing subtle practices ever since I was a child, since I was growing up until this point in time. Some things I did not know, they were part of witchcraft or anything related to any sort of folklore or any other culture for that matter. It's just something that came naturally to me, and then eventually I ended up on this path. Being someone who was already spiritually inclined, I went through a lot of changes very early in my life. And those of you who watch me may be the same way, may have felt the same way or experienced something very, very similar. You could have gone through many spiritual awakenings, which is what I am going to touch base on. This is not something that is going to happen once in your lifetime. This is going to happen numerous times. There's going to be numerous times where you are going to get an epiphany, aha moment, and it's going to blow your fucking world out of proportion. It does not just happen once. First step happens when you are very young, like a child. And you're going to be isolated and feeling very black sheepish compared to the other children. Because that's how I was. A lot of the time we're loners, or we're someone with a very big dream who is very extroverted. But we have these miraculous, mystical, ethereal ideas that most other kids do not. They're still stuck in a world where whatever meets the eye is the truth. They don't care to know past that or look past that or try to find something else that's not in front of their face. Like, what if all that was to disappear? Then what? Then what's left? Is there anything else for you to keep going in this lifetime once all that stuff that you thought you knew, thought you liked, thought you were interested in is gone? Then what? I was that kid. I was that kid who questioned all that stuff. I was that kid who questioned, why am I alive? Why the hell am I here? I'm not like anybody else. Nobody even likes me. But at the same time, that didn't bother me. I was so fine with being alone. And kids did make fun of me. They'd be like, dude, you're fucking weird. But you attract your tribe. You do. Because eventually I make friends and they come and go. That's part of life. They don't always stay, but you will attract the right weirdos to you. I had to grow up like that. I questioned everything. I was interested in things that I guess more adults would have been interested in compared to children my age. Even though I am older now, I still like to talk to people who are like twice my age. I'm 31 now, but if you're like 20 years, 30 years older than me, we're having a good conversation. I'm on that level. I don't really care to talk to many people who are younger than me or my age. You have to have experienced a lot through your life, be an old soul like myself, in order for us to get along. I've been around the block. I've experienced a lot of things. I've been put back on this earth for some reason that I am searching for. I've found out that I am put here to teach, and I like teaching, and I'm following that path currently. And I also want to eventually open up my own shop, a physical shop, not just an online shop. I want to have my own manor style shop that has a cafe, a library, and you guys can physically walk through the door and purchase any sort of metaphysical supply there. And you can get workings done there, all sorts of stuff, okay? I have big dreams, I have goals, and I have, ever since I started this path, dreamt about opening up this shop. So 7 years ago, I already thought about this. I always thought about, I want to own my own business. I want to have whatever it is, my own. I want to create a foundation up. Now that I have found someone in my life who wants to do the exact same thing, so now we can go into it together and make it much more of a stable foundation, future goal for both of us to work towards. It's not something I've lost sight of by any means. There's a lot of steps that I went through in my life up until this point recently that makes me see that I have to do a lot of shit that I fucking hate to get what I want. I'm going to go through periods of your life, and if you keep track of these massive changes in pinpoints in spiritual growth, there's going to be massive awakening points within your natal chart. If you know how to forecast that and look at your natal chart, you will see it coming. And depending on the signs that they are in, it could be a massive emotional change, it can be a chaotic change where you lose your home, your everything, whatever the fuck, and it's going to make you see something. It's going to put something into perspective that you are avoiding for a long time, and it's going to blow up in your fucking face. And that's the point of where you're going to fucking wake up and you're going to see everything that you're trying to keep yourself blinded from, just to try and protect yourself, to live in a comfort zone. These things happen for a reason. You know, it was either in a past life that you may have brought on some karmic, maybe a karmic tie kind of screwed up your progress in your life at this point in time. I know my ex-husband did for sure. He sent me back a fuck ton, like 13 years, a fuck ton. But that was an experience and something I had to grow from, because I was carrying around that tie for a while, and now I finally got rid of it. I wanted to touch base more on the first part of the childhood, the awakening that you're going to go through as a child. That's when it's going to hit you first, okay? This is stage one. The first step into the awareness is when you know already what is coming for you. I knew how jobs work. I knew how paying the bills worked. I knew my dad was cheating on my mom. I knew my mom had anger issues because of my dad, and she would abuse me because she was mad at him, not at me. I knew my dad was bringing strangers and women into her home that he was having sex with, and you know, I knew already. I was 8 years old, but I fucking knew. I wasn't blind. I can tell. I figured out a lot of things. I woke up, I saw how men treat women, I saw how women treat men. I understood at a young age that women are highly sexualized based off of how they look, not what they know, but how they look. And the same with men. As long as you have a dick between your legs, you can become CEO in a fucking heartbeat. I knew at a young age how all this fucking shit worked. A lot of kids were not on that level yet. That makes you very excluded, very isolated, when you already know what to expect. And at a young age, I had very bad depression because I felt like no matter what I did in this world, it wasn't going to be something that I was passionate about or something that I was going to be fond of. So more often than not, I wanted to be the villain. I wanted to be that cartel drug dealer. I wanted to be that person who was fucking shit up, just to have a different concept, different perspective on life. I didn't want ordinary and mundane. I wanted extraordinary. And looking at my mother and my father, everyone around me, they were living ordinary. I don't want ordinary. And I still don't. At the age of where I know logically the steps I'm gonna have to take, and also how to spiritually balance that out if I'm ever gonna get what I want. At that age, it can be very like crashing down, beaten down, literally trying to feel like you're clawing through the surface of getting buried alive. It felt like that's literally what happened. I was getting buried alive in something I didn't even want to be in, but it was just getting crammed down my throat and filling me up and making me super fucking depressed. With that part said, in that mindset that I had, that I knew how our government was going to treat me, I knew how it was going to be. By the time I got a job, it wasn't going to be no magical moment. Nobody cares. Nobody fucking cares. You're just going to get treated like cattle like everybody else. The only difference is you can find select few people in a very small circle that can care about you. But more often than not, that CEO of that company, the owner of the company, if it's a big company or a small company, ain't gonna give a fuck about you. You're just a worker. You're just there to help them make themselves bigger, more powerful, make them more money. I knew that at a young age. My parents didn't withhold any information. I'm like, oh, she's too young to know that. You're gonna ruin her whole world. No, I knew how Christmas worked. I knew the Easter Bunny wasn't real. I wasn't getting any fucking presents for my birthday. My parents early on showed me that nobody fucking cares about you. The only person who is going to care about you is fucking you. That was basically like a big fat sensory overload. Because while all these other kids are out there goofing around playing games, they got toys and shit, and I'm over here growing the fuck up, basically. Instead of 8, I was 18. I knew already. My eyes were wide open to how people treated each other. My eyes were wide open. I saw it. I saw what the fucking Matrix looked like at a very young age. And with that sort of mentality and knowing where I was going, and I didn't want that. By the time I was in my teens, I rebelled highly. I pursued my villain persona. I was doing drugs. I was dealing and doing drugs. I ran away for a couple years and just was homeless. I rebelled a lot. So I know what the other side looks like, as is. It may not be to an extreme compared to some people's lives who've been doing that for years and been in and out of prison for it. It never happened, luckily. I saw that that side wasn't any better either. But then again, I wasn't like pushing massive kilos of fucking cocaine and shit. I wasn't rich. Like, it was just a smaller, more rural experience for me. So I've done some things. I've been around the block, like I said. Sometimes I still think about, oh my God, that would be so nice just to drop the fuck off the grid, change my identity, and just fucking get some tax-free money. But I'm not gonna do that. I wouldn't be able to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish anyways. It wouldn't have the same feeling at the end of the day that I made it and there's nothing else attached to me lingering that I'm gonna have to worry about in a year or so. Am I gonna be dead in a year or so? Am I ever gonna get what I really wanted living that sort of lifestyle? Somewhat conforming is actually the safer route, as that sounds. My teens, I think I was around 14 or 15 around that time, and that hit me in another way as well, because I've also experienced a lot of shady situations. Some really shitty things happened to me during that period of my life, and it hit me in another way, and I woke up and realized no matter what path I took, it was going to be very uncomfortable, and I might be fucking miserable the whole goddamn time, but one is obviously going to be a little bit more safer. I was still, drinking and whatnot and doing all the wrong things, basically, for that age anyways, but I stumbled upon my karmic at that time. It made me realize that as I was growing up as a child, when I had my first awakening, when I took everything in and realized how men treated women, it just proved me right. The whole time, it proved me right. I never had a guy in my life actually want to be friends with me or care for me or try to help me in any sort of way that they didn't want a sexual favor in return. Highly aware of that. I was like, you can't have males as friends. You just can't. And with that sort of relationship between men, I'm highly uncomfortable around them to this day, because I'm always in that mind state of, what are you going to want from me in return? No matter what you give to me, I need to pay you back cash, or I need to give you something that's an equal exchange of a product, whatever the fuck it was. I can't just take that shit for free. With the female, it's different, because she can be gay, which I am bisexual if you guys don't know, but that's besides the point. Women are usually more trustworthy in this sense, and that's what I found out. Like, women actually usually give more of a fuck, unless there's jealousy that comes into the picture, unless women are jealous of you. And throughout my life, I experienced a lot of jealousy just because other guys were into me, and I was never into them. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you see in them, you're an idiot. And all of a sudden I'm the bad guy because they like me for some reason. Half the time I didn't get what they ever saw in them. So it was sad to see that the whole support system between women can be shattered and crumbled so easily over a fucking guy, over the fucking dick. Bitch, even if you were dating him, I doubt you'd ever come, because he's gonna be one of those guys. So good luck with that miserable ass fucking relationship. That was the point in time where I got with my karmic, and basically I already knew what to expect from that relationship. But deep down, I was like really hoping that someone would prove me wrong. I needed anybody to prove me wrong, that my viewpoint on humanity, men and women, could be different from what I was already seeing on the daily, from what was distilled in me by the time I was 8 years old. I knew people weren't trustworthy at all, so I could barely even trust the guy that I actually got with, for good reasons. Because my intuition is very, very good, and it's very rare that I ever got myself into bad situations. And the only time they did happen is when I denied my intuition and I suppressed it. Whenever I actually listen to it, I'm golden. Nothing has ever happened to me shitty if I listen to myself. So, listen to yourself, guys. Listen to yourself. Big key in this factor in spiritual growth, spiritual awakening, is listening to yourself. At that point in time, I was with him total 13 years. Long fucking time. Long fucking time to actually realize what I needed from a partner, whether it was going to be male or female. What I really needed from a partner, I learned from him. So he did teach me something, regardless of shitty circumstances I may have had to experience with him. So it did teach me that I don't want this, I don't want that, I need this person to be like this, this, and this, or else I may as well be alone. So I set boundaries for myself and higher expectations that I was not going to get into a relationship unless this person treats me exactly the way I wanted to be treated. And I know that could be slim to none, honestly. It would take some sort of person. But yet, I found them. When I was with my karmic, I did actually start practicing physical witchcraft. He was scared, and he was like, I don't really want you to be doing that, because what if some creepy ass shit starts happening, and yada yada yada. He operates out of fear, which a lot of people do, honestly. So it wasn't anything that I was aware that it was going to happen, because he's the type. The more I actually did it and pushed myself forward to keep doing it regardless of what he said, the better my craft unraveled, the more it developed, the more I spiritually grew as a person, and the more I could actually see what I wanted in life. I had to take matters into my own hands, in control, and I had to redesign myself, basically. Because if I stay spiraling in that mindset, that depressive mindset state, which happens when you're spiritually awoken, it's very easy for you to spiral into a pit of despair, a pit of depression, because you know how this world already operates. So you're constantly trying to find something to escape with, basically. There are good aspects to this world that you need to enjoy and experience before you no longer are here to experience it, and you're going to move on to the next level, basically. Who knows if you're actually coming back or not. You may not reincarnate. This might be it. Whatever lessons that you were supposed to take with you in this lifetime, just take them with a grain of salt and practice being a fucking human being and experiencing shit. Stayed with my karmic for a long time, and during that practicing and developing my craft, I went through another awakening stage of where I know exactly what I want and how I'm going to get it. I saw everything for what it was. My manifestations were strong, because at the end of the day, I was like, no matter what fucking happens, I got me. I had me. I realized I held a lot of power, and I just needed to put it into something that was actually going to benefit me. Because earlier in life, I was not doing that. I was basically harnessing all this negative energy building up and festering in my body, because I didn't want to have to live a mundane life. I really didn't. I mean, who does? You'd have to be fucking crazy. Plus, with that sense of knowing from a young age, like, there has to be more than what meets the eye. There has to be. Because if it was just what meets the eye, oh my god, I would have killed myself a long time ago. I probably would have taken my life before I was in my teens. Like, if that was it, it wasn't worth being around for.
So at a young age, I was like, no, there has to be more. And more often than not, I was attracted to folklore. Anything on Egypt, I read it because they practiced magic. And I was like, they believed in something more. And the more I read, I was one of those kids who would just read. I had my nose in a book a lot because I didn't really have anyone to talk to and I didn't care. I honestly loved reading because in my head, I can create a whole new world when I read. I can see everything like I'm watching TV, basically. The more I read books on different cultures and like folklore and whatnot, and how they developed to a certain point in time, I've realized that almost every fucking culture has practiced magic in some way. So that made me think magic has to be fucking real. It has to be. Else why would all these different cultures be practicing magic or some sort of something that is not what meets the eye? There has to be a reason. If there was nothing there, and why would all these people be doing the same thing and, you know, using the same sorts of materials and symbolisms and like a lot of this stuff intertwined? And that made me question a lot of things, especially at a young age. I was like, that's too much of a coincidence. I remember that knowledge because at a certain point in time in my life with my karmic, I tried to just blend in and do what everyone else did. I became a certified personal trainer. I was in good shape, but not fulfilled. I hated it. Fucking hated it. I'm not saying you should drop your fitness and start eating like shit, but it just wasn't fulfilling because it's not exactly what I needed. Around that point in time, right before I started practicing, I let that part of me go because I spiritually grew past that, and I was like, I'm done trying to hide what I really want underneath what society wants me to be. I'm tired of trying to conform to something that is obviously not meant for me. Started practicing, and that was a big eye-opener. And it put everything into perspective for me. And I realized eventually I'm gonna have to leave that karmic relationship. So it may not be a perfect timing. And there really wasn't. I had to change my life all over again to meet my twin flame. This was really hard for me to do. But at this point in time, I grew as a person because I finally found someone who valued me as an equal, not just some piece of eye candy, a piece of meat, or someone that they just want to stick the dick in, basically. Because that's how every other guy has treated me. Not many guys can actually talk to me for a long period of time and treat me like another human being, like they're a good friend that's a guy, basically. You should be able to do that. You should be able to think with your other head, the one that has a fucking brain in it. My twin flame showed me that you can have a guy care about you and not want to fuck you. I mean, I know that some of you are probably like, dude, you guys are in a sexual partnership. But at the same time, it should be consensual as well. With my karmic, if I didn't want to have sex, it didn't matter. If he wanted to, we're having it. That was the kind of relationship I was in. If I tell my twin flame, hey, I don't feel like it right now, just cause I just don't, he's like, that's fine. And he's not gonna push that on me or make me feel bad about it, because that's not how it's supposed to be. I'm going through a lot of growth because I never met someone like that before, especially a male. Like, my perspective on males is very bleak, very dim. As I try to change that, there's always something that sets me back into an old way of like, I knew it. I fucking knew it. You know what I mean. If you've lived a similar life to mine, you know exactly what I mean. I'm telling you these certain stories that you probably already heard if you actually watch a lot of my videos. You may have heard like bits and pieces of all these stories, like in certain story times and whatnot. Pinpointing these specific areas in life because that's when big ones have hit. And based on my chart, that's when they would have hit. And if you guys follow numerology, I am a life path 8. So 8 is a balance between this world and another realm. I need spiritual balance with material realm balance. That's how I operate. I need to have both in balance in order to achieve and get exactly what I want in this lifetime. So that's going to be the hardest part, is creating balance. Right now, after meeting my twin flame, I'm going through a lot of growth. I'm going through a lot of changes. Like I said in my last video, I'm getting a new job. I'm starting tomorrow. And I'm putting into perspective that I need to make a lot more money to get what I want. I don't have mommy and daddy to give me a fucking loan. I don't talk to any of my family at all. My partner is my family. And I have one very good friend that'll have my back to the end. And that's it. That's fucking it. We need to dig ourselves out of debt fast enough to actually physically be able to keep up with the shop that we want. Like, because time's a ticking. We're only getting older, and the older we get, the more our body is expiring. We're dying. We can try as hard as we want to try and keep our bodies in shape, healthy, strong, and agile, but time is still ticking. So in order to get there faster, we have to make more money. And that's something that honestly takes me back to like childhood trauma, where I knew that in order to get what I want in life, I need to have a lot of money. I knew this at a young age. My parents told me at a young age. I was highly aware. But it was something that I wanted to fight because I didn't want them to be right. But I knew they were right. Like I said, my clair senses and just knowing is highly accurate. I believe they wouldn't be telling me this unless it was, of course, the truth. They didn't lie to me. My parents always just told me the truth. Plain as day, black and white. As hurtful as it sounds, they told me the fucking truth. So I knew, but I fought it because I was hoping that I could find some way around it. But then again, this human existence is all based off experiences, okay? So now I'm going through another stage in my life where I'm spiritually and materially leveling up. And I'm trying to create this balance to get what I want in the long run. So far, so good as far as paying things off, and we're getting our shit together and we're moving on. Because me and my partner, we literally just started a new life. We've been together for about 3 years now, just about. It's gonna be 3 in March, I believe. We're literally starting all over again. All fucking over again. That's rough, starting from the bottom up again. I'm going through some spiritual growth, possibly another awakening. One of you commented in the comments that I think you might be going through another awakening. So, and you're most likely right. And it gave me this epiphany moment that a lot of people think spiritual awakenings are like one and dones. And they are not. They're not just one and done. You go through big master pinpoint shifts in your natal chart throughout your life where it's going to trigger the next level up. You can call that spiritual growth. I call it an awakening because it's so big that it takes you a step back and you spiral because you are having a sensory overload at that point in time in your life. I am trying really hard to adapt and shift into this making more money, doing something that it's okay. I don't love it, but it's something I can do and I'm good at it. And it makes me money. So if I can keep up with it and just keep doing it, before you know it, we'll be where we want to be. That is my perspective on spiritual growth, spiritual awakening. Spiritual awakening is something that's going to happen numerous times in your lifetime. And it'll keep happening until the day you die because you're growing as a person. So each time this happens, another massive amount of download is going to come into your body. Certain things are going to open up for you. You're going to start seeing synchronicities. Certain messages are going to download. Like at a certain point in time, I didn't know I was clairaudient until I ended up smoking some weed. And it was like, I don't know, about 3 years ago. And we were outside walking around and all I could hear was a bunch of fucking voices, like just overlapping in my brain, and they were loud, and my partner was trying to talk to me, and then someone else on the street was saying something, but I couldn't hear any of that shit, okay? All I could hear was other voices going on in my head, and they were chaotic. Some of them were screaming, some of them were in pain, and I was like, oh my god, I can't take this anymore. I need to get inside. Like, this is way too fucking much. And everything around me was like really fucking bright, and I heard like a loud static sound around me. It was too fucking much. At that point in time, I was like, I'm never doing this again. I can't do this anymore. When I was younger, I could do it, and my mind was quiet. Now that I'm older and I started putting things into perspective, and the more awakening stages that I went through, the more higher my clear senses got. They're like operating on another level that I didn't knew could exist. So I realized that that was an outlet for me to hear a lot of things, but channeling them so I could hear them clearly wasn't something I was capable of, because it hit me by surprise. I didn't know that that was going to happen. Supposedly that can be a sign of schizophrenia, but honestly, schizophrenia and people who are woke, they tie a fine line, because those people have major fucking downloads going on inside their heads. Their third eye, their crown chakra is usually off the hook, because they are absorbing and taking in different realms of knowledge, and it's crazy. If you're on that level, that is very hard to deal with. Not fucking crazy. They just are more sensitive to these things than you are. I hope that was informative in one way or another, and thank you for giving me that comment, and it made me realize that a lot of people don't really realize that there's stages, and this stuff can go on for a long period of time, especially when it first hits and you're trying to fight it. It could go on for years. It's not just something that can happen within like a day or two, a week. It can go on for years. And depending on your personality type and how you handle and process trauma, your subconscious mind will try to keep you comfortable. If you don't know your personality type, they have tests and whatnot, but some people are more inclined to fight it and resist it than others. Some others are more of intuitive and feeling, like myself. So I'm actually a very rare personality type. I'm an INFJ. If you guys don't know, if some of you have already taken the personality type test, then you know what I'm talking about. There's very few people who think and process the way that I do and feel on the level that I feel. I'm not saying that it's not, you can't match me in any sort of way. That's not what I'm getting at. I'm just saying it's just gonna be different. So it's gonna be a little different. It might be in a way that you're not used to. And the way I communicate to other people, like right now, might be a little off and weird and strange to you. Like, you would say it differently, or your sentences might flow better. You would have less pauses, something, you know? But that's just how I operate. That's my sun, moon, and rising, my baggage, which is my trauma, and my personality type. So all those working together is going to help push you towards your next awakening stage, or it's going to hold you back and you're going to keep fighting it. So make sure you do your shadow work always. At the end of the day, shadow work will help you go far. It'll help you get so much farther in life. Those of you who might be seeing therapists and whatnot, they can help you have a large aha moment that you didn't see before. But if you're a lot like me, you can see yourself doing shit. You already know what you're doing and what you need to do to stop. I'm highly self-aware. I saw a therapist once, and she told me that I was highly self-aware. And then all the stuff that I was already doing to like handle my situation, it was something that she would have already recommended, and she told me I was doing great. And I was like, if she has nothing else to tell me, then why the hell am I seeing her? I stopped seeing her. I just kept healing myself. I did it myself. I'm not perfect, and you're going to be healing for the rest of your life. You're going to go through situations that create more spiritual growth and bring you on to the next level of downloads. Especially if you have to do a lot of things by yourself, to push yourself forward, and you don't have any support system, that's when you have the most growth. So be aware of that. I am done rambling. And if there's anything else that you would like to have explained a little more, you can email me at underneaththeveil@marigolds@outlook.com, or you can place it in the comments below. That is just fine. And then I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Until next time, I will see all you lovely little brujitas later.